Chris here, back with another mini PC review that is the Ryzen 9 5900HX. Super potent APU, so that does have 8 cores, 16 threads, maximum turbo is 4.6 GHz, it has Vega integrated graphics, and so far this thing is the fastest yet that I have checked out when it comes to these mini PCs with the integrated graphics, that is. So this particular model here from Mini's forum is called the EliteMini HX90. Now it can output 4 displays at 4K 60 Hz. It's got a lot of ports on here. We've got room to add an additional 2.5-inch SATA 3 drives. It supports MVE, and this configuration they sent out to me, that's why I have it early, has 16 GB of DDR4 RAM at 3.2 GHz and a 512 GB NVMe drive with Windows 10 Pro. What is in the box? So we do have a power supply, of course, to power this. Now this one is 120 watts, rather large as you can see. There is a base. You can lie it flat or you can stand it up on this base. Now the base is quite solid. It's made out of plastic. It has rubber on the bottom, so it's not going to slide off a table or anything like that. We get some SATA 3 connectors to install 2 additional 2.5-inch drives if you wanted to do so to expand upon the storage. 4 rubber feet. A Europower cable, so if you order for other regions, then you'll get either a US, a UK, Australia, New Zealand, or Euro plug. There is a VESA mounting bracket, and also we do have an HDMI cable. So for the ports on this one, we do have a reset here. That's for the BIOS if you do mess up any of the settings. USB 3.1 Type A, we've got separate audio jacks here, so mic in and audio out. USB 3.1 Type C, and a power button with a status LED. And what I really do like about this mini PC is 4 display out options here, okay? So 2 display ports and then 2 HDMIs. Now this is HDMI 2.0 spec. However, I am able to run my monitor, or should I say my TV, which is an LG CX at 4K 120 Hz, a desktop, with absolutely no problems here. The Vega graphics can handle that. And here we do have another set of audio jacks, which you don't normally see. 2.5 gigabit LAN there, only the single port, and then 4 USB 3.1 ports here too as well. So plenty there, including a Kensington lock slot. If you were going to use this as a point of sale machine, then you can lock it down. And then of course, DC in to power all of this, which is the standard barrel connector size that I normally see on gaming laptops and pretty much all of these mini PCs. So the top here, we do have a little bit of metal. The outside is all plastic. This part is plastic, and this is all intake vent. The sides are also intake vents. Big ones too, as you can see. It's the whole side of it and ample space to get that airflow going in. I can even see the BIOS battery inside there. The main board and the cooler on this one is quite big. That is also on the other side, exactly the same. So left and right of it, there are no ports, just huge vents. Lastly, on the bottom of it, we do have some Torx screws that are holding this rear on and the mounting screw points there for the VESA mount. So if you did want to put this on the back of your monitor on your TV, you can do that, even though, yes, it is a rather large mini PC, still gets it out of the way. It's still small enough and great if you want just a more streamlined looking setup without having the mini PC sitting on your desk. Now the size of Torx screw we're talking about here is the T15H. So you might have to go to an electronics store that specializes in, say, tools and equipment and things, and get yourself like a jeweler's set in order to get one of these. So the 4 screws there, I'm going to undo these now, which are torqued up nice and tight, and we'll take a look at the internals and upgrade options. So the back was a little difficult to pry the lid off, but not too bad. The top of it, however, to get access to that, it looks like we've got some screws in here we have to remove, and possibly remove the motherboard here in order to gain access to those components, and then the fan for later for maintenance. So 2.5-inch drives, if you want to fit one of those, then they actually go just in here, you can see. So you screw them either side. That's why there's only 4 screws, even though there are 2 drives, so you would think you would need 8 screws, but no, it's just on one side that you're going to be placing those in. So there is a little hook here, so it's going to be either side's just going to hook into that, and then you'll be able to fit the 2 drives there. So you can really increase and expand upon the storage. Now we've got our PCI 3.0 drive right here, NVMe. This is a Kingston one. Below that, if you remove it, if you want to upgrade the wireless card, which is Intel's AX200, it's Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5 combo card there, you can change that. Actually, no, it was not as hard as I thought it was to pull the whole mainboard out of it. So you can see our cooler right here, and we have 2 copper thermal transfer pipes there with all the fins. Cooling on this one, as you see later on, is very good considering the power we've got with this one, with this particular 8-core chip. And here we are able then to swap out the RAM and upgrade it. First up, I'll show you our BIOS. So we don't have every single option available to us, but the important ones are there. So if you go up here, I'll just tell you quickly the power configuration. If you did want to use this as a server or you're going to put it on a switch or something, you can set it to resume on AC failure. That's a very handy setting to have, so I'm glad that that is available. Now all the tweaking settings, the ones that you probably want, are all found under AMD CBS. And this is very easy to go into this and tweak a few things. Now, the ones that I find the most interesting, you will find under this one, which is the NBIO common option. So when you go into this, you'll see we've got a lot of different options. So options for graphics configuration. So you can here decide that you could go and change it to what they have, a game optimized one. And this is where you can dedicate more RAM to that Vega graphics. So if you want to increase it. Now, normally what would happen if you've got 16 gigabytes, it'll dedicate then 2 gigabytes. If you've got 32, it will then dedicate 4, helping boost the lower frame rate average. And I've seen that actually in tests that I've done before. But I'm going to keep that just by default, okay, there. Audio configuration, SMU common options is another interesting one here. So we've got fan control. You can tweak around with that if you want to. System configuration. This one is really interesting. So this is where we can adjust the power limit for that Ryzen 9 5900H. So we can set it from, the default is 45 watts, but we can stick it on to 54 watts here to boost the performance of all of those 8 cores. The trade-off is, of course, we will generate a little bit more heat, so the fans will be a little bit louder as a result. So by default, it is set on auto, and I'm going to actually change this over to 54 watts. I'm curious to see what kind of performance and thermals we will get out of this. So this chip is an absolute monster. The Ryzen 9 5900HX, it does have 8 cores, 16 threads. Default normal power limit is 45 watts, but you can see that that change that I did in the BIOS did actually take. So the power limit 1 is now 54 watts, 65 for the short burst power limit there. And the RAM timing, so it is running dual channel, 1600 megahertz, so that's times 2, so 3.2 gigahertz in total. 22, CL22 is, well, it's terrible. My Intel machine that I've got, I'm running CL16. And I really wish we'd be able to tweak these RAM timings. But anyway, the chip here, monster. It's 7 nanometers. Maximum turbo is 4.5, which when you think about it with the 8 cores is not bad at all. And I'll get onto the performance figures of this soon. A lot of benchmarks, gaming performance, thermals, and all that, of course. So just wanted to point out too, device manager. It is Intel for our LAN port there, 2.5 gigahertz, and Intel as well for Wi-Fi 6, as mentioned. That does have Bluetooth 5 support with it. Now, I'm able to achieve my typical 1.3 gigabit transfers with my Wi-Fi 6 router. So if you've got a fast Wi-Fi 6 router, then you can get really good speeds and possibly even better than that out of this. So that Kingston drive, this particular one I've got is the 512 gigabytes. It's PCIe 3.0 spec. Speeds are okay, certainly not the fastest I've seen. Some drives like the Samsungs can achieve 3000 reads and writes sequentials. And well, the random 4Ks aren't too bad with that. Cinebench R23, so it runs for 10 minutes. And this is the average score, over 12,000 points. Not the best I've seen for the Ryzen 9 5900HX. However, this is still an impressive score. Very, very good for a mini PC. Geekbench 5. Very good single core score here. Multi-core score doesn't actually do as well as some of the Intels I've seen, like the 11800H is able to get 8,000 points or even close to 9,000 normally, but this benchmark does tend to favor Intel. This is why we're not getting the same performance like the other Ryzen 9 5900HX is because of this. Just single-sided RAM. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is swap it out just for the gaming part here in that 3D Mark test with some G-Skill Ripjaws, and it you can see is double-sided. They do have better timings, but it will still fall back, unfortunately, on CL22 timings instead of the CL18 that just does support with Intel chipsets. Now the PCMark benchmark here, very good, over 6,000 points. That's a really strong score for a mini PC. Here we have Night Raid. So Night Raid is underperforming a little bit, and it's due to the RAM because it's single rank. If it's dual rank, which I'll show you soon, does really increase their performance, especially with the Vega graphics. So here is Firestrike, and that score, again, underperforming a little bit. Then when I swapped out the RAM, look at the difference. That is the single rank, okay, right now, versus dual rank. That's a big step up in performance there. So this then performs more or less exactly like the last mini PC I reviewed with the same exact chipset and Night Raid 2. So that performance went right up, again with the single rank right there, and then dual rank RAM. So if you want to step up the performance, you want to gain a little bit extra, squeeze the maximum performance out, I do recommend changing the RAM on the 16GB version. Make sure it is dual rank. Onto video editing now with Adobe Premiere Pro. So I have in the timeline here some 4K 100 megabit files, and it's not showing any lag at all. Now I've only got the playback resolution to 1/4, but even at 1/2 here, it runs fine, and you can run this at full. And it doesn't seem to drop any frames, it doesn't seem to lag at all, and the timeline, at least with my basic edits here, so this is very, very basic, fine, absolutely fine here. So let's have a look at the export speeds. In the last mini PC with the same chipset, did this in really record times for me, just under 40 seconds. So what I do is set it to the 4K preset right here, and 1 minute of footage, and we shall see how long it is going to take here to export this. Okay, so that one just finished up now, and it was about approximately 45, 46 seconds. That is slower than the last mini PC. I'm not too sure why. Now, it could be to do with RAM dedicated to the Vega graphics. Probably more to do with the RAM timings and the RAM quality, I would say. It must be that on the other mini PC, we did have better RAM than what is in this one. Grand Theft Auto 5 here, and the performance of this for integrated graphics, the Vega graphics from AMD handling this great. So there's some screen tearing because I've got VSync off. This is 1080p, the normal settings, so in the middle with the traffic density, population, whatnot as well, and it really does perform well. Now I've seen the frame rate get up to 100 frames per second too, so this is great. And I just get one of my guns out here, shotgun, and to start randomly causing some havoc, and very, very playable. So it is not really going to be slowing down at all. And this is great. At 1080p for integrated graphics, it can still do a bit of gaming. But I'll get onto a slightly more demanding game now, which is The Witcher 3. And we'll see at 1080p how is it going to handle that. Okay, so this is low settings, but it's 1080p. Normally with integrated graphics, I would be running this 720p. And look at the frame rate. So we're getting around 40 frames per second. This is playable. So it's, well, similar to what you get with a console, right? But probably at a slightly higher view distance, better looking visuals here. And even around this port area, frame rate's going up a little bit too. And this is in the city where it is the most demanding here. If you go out into the countryside with this game, the frame rate will increase at least another 20 frames per second or so. So excellent performance from the Vega graphics. I'm impressed. I mean, this is so far the most powerful mini PC that I've tested out. And well, almost exactly the same as the last one I reviewed with the same chipset. But this one is just a fraction better due to the slightly better thermals. Lastly, just checking out Counter-Strike here. This is on the lowest settings, but at 1080p, and we're getting well over 100 frames per second. And when there are not a lot of teammates on the screen, then it's actually over 200. So yeah, you could probably run a high refresh rate monitor with this, and a competitive game like this is pretty good. The performance that I'm getting out of this, it really is the best, actually, for integrated graphics that I have seen here in the channel. See how long I last out here. I didn't even get any kill there at all. Probably a bad time to reload. Nice, they got 1 kill. But yeah, my team is dominating right here. Oh, 7 health left. I am basically gone. Yep. Okay. But yeah, excellent gaming performance for integrated graphics. Now the thermals for 37 minutes, I've just been non-stop stress testing it. That is including, of course, Cinebench R23. And these thermals are really good. So it maxes out at 91 degrees Celsius. My current ambient temperatures are 25 to 26 degrees. And it is pulling here, you can see 50 watts. Not up to the 54, even though I have 54 set. Now at the wall, I'm seeing an idle power consumption of 6 to 7 watts, which is really good. And then a maximum of 69 watts. That is gaming and stress tests and everything. That's the peak I'm seeing with this particular unit here. Now, fan noise is very good on this mini PC. So under idle and very light loads, you don't even hear it. It ramps right down to a very low RPM that it's almost dead silent, which I do love. Now, if you stress it out, which I'm doing right now, Cinebench R23 or gaming, you do hear the fan. But compared to the other mini PCs I've reviewed and the other Ryzen 9 5900HX mini PC, it's actually not bad at all. It's quieter than a gaming laptop, has a little bit of a whine noise to it, but here is a sample. Now, I know this question's going to come up, so what about that MoreFine or MoreFine, however they want to pronounce it, mini PC with the same exact chipset that I also reviewed in the channel? This one, as you can see, is a lot smaller. However, it is more expensive because this one they sell as a bare bones, okay, the HX90, and I don't think they sell this as a bare bones at the moment. You need to buy it with 32 gigabytes of RAM and with 1 terabyte drive for about $1,000 US. It doesn't have as many ports. So at the front, it's only got 3 USB 3 ports. The 4 ports on the rear are USB 2 spec, but otherwise very, very similar performance. They are using the same chipset, and this one does take just a single 2.5-inch drive in it. So those are the real key differences there. However, fan noise and thermals, definitely, and even slightly better performance, probably because of the thermals and the fan and the cooling. The HX90 here is the overall winner. So this, like the title of this video, this is the best now that I have seen, and really good. So the pros are the fan noise. It's actually very good, although when it is working really hard, you hear like a little bit of a whine noise because it's drawing in that air through around here, and it kind of makes a noise when it does that, but that's me being a little bit nitpicky there with it. The performance with the Vega graphics, really good. So the best I've seen for integrated graphics for gaming. And then the 8-core monster that is that Ryzen 9, the 5900HX. Very potent chip. We can configure it with this one to 54 watts as I did. We can even dedicate 2 to 4 gigabytes. Okay, so 32 gigabytes of RAM will allow us to dedicate up to 4 gigabytes to the Vega graphics, which is actually what I did for that gaming test. It doesn't really boost the performance that much, so I wouldn't worry about it too much because it is dynamic memory, it's shared, and it will just allocate it and scale it up when needed anyway. So 2.5 gigabit LAN, Wi-Fi 6, ticks lots of boxes. This really is the best one yet. However, there's a couple of things that I wish were different. So although it's great to have the two 2.5-inch drive bays in there, I would have preferred to have another NVMe slot. That I think would have been better. So one NVMe and one 2.5-inch drive bay on here instead of the two we have on here. The other thing is upgrades are, I wouldn't say it's super difficult, but not for everyone because you have to pull out the whole motherboard and flip it around to install the RAM. Even though when you just take off the rear of it, you've got access to the 2.5-inch SATA drives and that NVMe drive and the wireless card, but not for the RAM. So if you buy the bare bones version, I would actually probably do that. And that way, make sure you buy 16 or 32 gigabytes of RAM that is dual rank. So not just the one side with the chips on the RAM, because that's why we're losing about 10%, well, 8% or so performance because of the RAM. So if you get and install your own RAM, then you can get the maximum performance out of this. And most people would actually probably want to do that, right? When you buy a PC like this, you want to get the best performance possible. So that's another con that it comes with the 16 gigabyte version, single rank memory, SODIMMs, which are a little cheaper. And otherwise, this is a fantastic mini PC here. So thank you so much for watching my review here of the EliteMini HX90 from Minis Forum.